A couple, Emma and David, set out on a long-awaited trip to the mountains for a quiet retreat. The crisp air and serene landscape were a welcome escape from the busyness of their lives. Their destination, a small cabin nestled deep in the heart of an old mountain range, miles from the nearest town. Upon arriving, the couple marveled at the view from their cabin window. The dense forest stretched endlessly below, and the towering peaks above seemed to kiss the sky. The cabin was rustic but cozy, with creaking wooden floors and a fireplace that hadn't been used in years. On the kitchen table, they found a dusty map left behind by previous visitors, marked with trails leading into the forest. One trail, however, caught Emma's eye. It led deeper into the mountains, far beyond any they had planned to hike. Scribbled next to it in faint handwriting were the words, "Do not enter after dusk." Curiosity stirred within them, and despite the eerie warning, they decided to follow the trail the next morning. The day was bright and peaceful as they wandered through the woods, laughing and enjoying their time together. Hours passed, and they found themselves deep into the trail. As the sun began to dip behind the mountains, the forest transformed. Shadows stretched longer, and the once calming silence of nature grew unnerving. They turned back, but the trail seemed different. The familiar landmarks they had passed earlier were now gone. Trees, twisted and gnarled, seemed to close in around them. Panic set in as darkness descended, and a chilling breeze whispered through the branches. Emma gripped David's hand tightly as they hurried, unsure if they were even heading in the right direction. Then they heard it, a soft rustling, like something or someone was moving through the underbrush. David, trying to stay calm, shined his flashlight into the trees, but there was nothing. Probably just an animal, he reassured Emma, though his voice wavered. But the rustling grew louder, more deliberate, as if something was circling them. Emma's heart raced. Suddenly, a figure darted between the trees, too fast to make out. They both froze. "Who's there?" David shouted into the woods. There was no response, only silence, and then a voice. Emma's voice called from the darkness. "David, come here." Emma's breath caught in her throat. "David," she whispered. "That wasn't me." They ran, but no matter how far they went, the trail never ended. The voice kept calling, mimicking Emma, growing more distorted with each repetition. As they stumbled through the forest, the flashlight flickered, casting fleeting glimpses of something in the trees. Pale figures with hollow, glowing eyes, watching them. They reached a clearing where an ancient, crumbling stone structure stood. Desperate for shelter, they ran inside. The walls were covered in strange markings, and the air felt heavy, oppressive. It was then that Emma noticed the journal on the ground, weathered and brittle. Flipping through the pages, she found entries from other hikers, people who had followed the same trail, people who never returned. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and the cabin's door slammed shut. A low whisper echoed through the room, not coming from outside, but from within. The words were indecipherable, a guttural chant that seemed to crawl under their skin. David backed against the wall, his eyes wide with terror. "We have to get out of here," he gasped. But before they could move, the walls began to shift, the markings twisting and writhing as if alive. The figures from the forest appeared at the windows, their hollow eyes glowing brighter. Emma tried the door, but it wouldn't budge. The chanting grew louder, deafening, as the cabin seemed to fold in on itself, warping reality. Emma turned to David, but he was gone, vanished without a trace. The floor beneath her feet crumbled, and she fell into darkness, her screams swallowed by the void. The next morning, search teams found the cabin, but Emma and David were never seen again. All that remained were their footsteps leading up the forbidden trail, and the journal, open to the last page, where fresh, blood-red writing spelled out one final message. "They are watching.